Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. So what are we doing today, Tanya?
Today, Andy's going to show us how to sharpen a reamer.
That's right. We have a reamer here, which is old and tired. It's dull. Both the cutting edges at the end are dull, and actually it's got corrosion on it. Now this is a tapered pin reamer, and so it's got a nice consistent taper to it. So we're going to sharpen the lead in at the end, and we're going to freshen up the actual cutting edges all the way down, get that corrosion off of there and bring it right back to good as new. I'm going to start off on the wire wheel. This thing's covered with, again, corrosion, grime. I just want to get this down as close as we can to bare metal before we actually set up and start grinding it. But normally you wouldn't run, a coarse wire wheel like this along a tooth face or tooth edge because you'd be dulling it for sure. But since this is going in for sharpening anyways, that's not a concern. I just want to clean it up and make it look nice. Here it is after wire wheeling. You can see it looks quite a bit cleaner already. It's properly dull now. But again, not a concern because that's what we're doing here is we're sharpening it up. So I'm going to be working on this between centers, and there's a couple reasons for that. One is because we're dealing with a taper, as I've said over and over and over again in different videos, that center height is desperately important. So this tooth face will need to be exactly at center height for this thing to work out properly. And just picking up the existing angle will be much, much easier between centers than it would by any other method. Setting my center height now, and so setting a 0 at my table, and I happen to know that the center of this whole machine, including the tail stalks, is at 4 1/8 inches. So I'm going to set that up here now. I got this between centers now, and I don't recall what I was using these tail stalks for last time, but I'm guessing it was something very heavy because I really have the spring pressure in here cranked up, which is making this too tight. It's much too strong a feel. I'm going to need a really, really delicate, sensitive feel to do this properly. So I'm going to back the spring pressure off and see if I can get that feel where I want it. Oh, that's coming along. Oh, that's much better. I'll be able to feel that no problem. So to index from tooth to tooth, I've got this just a little piece of aluminum, and I've whittled it down quite thin. And the reason is it has to fit down onto this tooth face, but without interfering with the grinding wheel that I'm going to have in there. And this will work now, just like that. So I'm just going to get that put into this spring-loaded pointer finger I have here. And then I'm going to get this all set up with that tooth face exactly at center height like we talked about. So this knob here, there's a thread that adjusts the height of this pointer. And so I've just fiddled with it and fiddled with it. And now you can see that my tooth is exactly on center height.
What you doing now?
Well, now we're going to pick up the taper on this thing. And of course, because this is a standard taper to fit a standard pin size, we don't want to change that taper at all. We want it to end up being exactly the same. So it's super critical that we do a really thorough job of dialing here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to run my test dial just at the cutting edge of the tooth with the face at center height until I get that running perfectly zero all the way from one end to the other. I got the stylus of my test dial now. It is exactly at center height on the tooth that we're going to be cutting on. And now I'm going to rotate this entire table to pick that angle up. And these tailstocks are in a T-slot that is centered on the table. And so any adjustments I make, of course, are going to be the whole length of the reamer.
Here's the helper.
Yeah, got my little helper. Checking out the action. Not only does the tooth face need to be exactly at center height, but I also need the center of this little ball, this little stylus here on my test dial to be exactly at center height. And the way I determine that is if I go down from center height, then my dial is going to move in the minus direction. And as I come up, it'll go plus, plus, plus. And as soon as it starts to go minus again, that means I know that I'm now going above my center height. So here we are at center height. If I go down with my wheel head, we get a minus, come back up to center, tops out at zero in the plus direction. And if I go higher, it starts coming back down again. And so that's how I know that's my center height. Now that everything's on center height, and I've already done the dialing in of this, but I just want to show you guys. So when I come onto the tool, we come up to the zero, we stay zero. Now it jumps around a bit here, that's corrosion, I believe. And then at the far back end of this, we end up still at zero. So I'm pretty confident that that's where we want to be. I'm using a pretty fine wheel on this. The reason being, there's a limit to how much you can take off a tapered reamer. Now they do come new with extra on both ends, and so there is some room to take some material off, but I don't want to take a ton off, and so I'm going with a pretty fine wheel, and we're going to take off the minimum amount we can. Next thing we need to do now is to pick up the existing clearance angle that's on there. And we're going to do that by adjusting the height of the wheel. So you can imagine if you were on the center line of the wheel and that was matched to the center line of the cutting tool, you'd basically be creating no clearance at all. If the wheel was above the center line of the tool, then you'd be actually creating a negative rake angle and a clearance angle, sorry. And so what we're going to do is we're going to put the wheel below center height, and that way it'll be grinding more off the back of the tooth than it is off the front of the tooth, and that'll be our clearance angle. So I've got my wheel below center height, and I can't see in there well enough to know if I'm picking up the existing clearance exactly or not. So what I'm going to do is just spin this wheel by hand and come in ever so slowly, and then I'll come out and I will look and see, am I shining up the back of this clearance angle, the front of this clearance angle, or am I right in the middle? And then I'll know, if I'm in the right place. Let's see what that looks like. So I can see here my wheel is hitting closest to the cutting edge and not evenly across the whole thing. That's telling me I need my wheel height lower yet. Got my wheel lowered down. Now this part's entirely trial and error. There's no math for this. But I've touched it again. Let's see where we've landed this time. So you can see here, it's still up towards the cutting edge, but we are getting closer. My wheel does need to go lower yet. Now I've got it. I'm happy with it. I touched and went less than half a thou, and you can see I've got a nice scratch there all the way from the leading edge to the backside of the clearance angle down here. So that will mean we've almost exactly picked up that clearance angle. I've got everything set up the way I want it now. I've actually put the machine into low range so I can have greater control over my travel speed. And we're just going to touch off and start sharpening this guy up. I'm running my wheel in reverse, and yes, that is pushing a burr up into my cutting edge, but the reason I'm doing that is the tool is also being pushed up onto the finger pointer by the wheel. If I were to go the other way and things were to get out of hand and the tool were to start to rotate, then it would dig deeper into the wheel and I could have just a crash and destroy this tool. So removing that burr is not a problem, not an issue, easy to do. I'm all set up for it, and so this is by far the safer way to do this job. So you can see this tooth is cleaning up quite nicely, nice and even. Now here are little spots. I imagine that was some of the corrosion we were seeing, or it could be damage from kicking around for the last 100 years, but we're just going to go slowly until all these little witness marks of the damage are gone, and it's 100%. So this clearance angle that I'm pointing at here, it's cleaned up quite nicely. There is just little hints of damage. I don't know if you can see that. I think that's still some corrosion there. I'm not gonna take more off than I really feel I need to. I do want to maintain this tool so I can, I want to be able to sharpen it again. So far we've taken approximately 3 thou per side off, which is approximately 0.05 of a millimeter. And I don't want to take any more off. I know this will work fine. It might not be 100%, but it's way better than it was. And this way, this tool will last and sharpen another day. So I'm going to take one final pass, just about 1/4 of a thou deep, and I'm going to feed though very slowly, so I can really improve that finish. If you notice this finish now, it's quite serrated looking. It's not a super fine finish. It's sort of been roughed down. We can improve on that finish and should be able to get rid of some of these lines that you see. So I've taken my finish pass, and I'm happy with that finish now. It's improved over what it was, and well, it's about the best we're going to be able to do, and it's fine. So that leaves us with one setup. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to redo this lead-in angle at the end of the tool, and you can see this particular corner is particularly damaged. Now, we won't probably remove all of that, but we'll give it a lick, and the other ones, there's a bad one there too. Yeah, we're gonna have to remove all that damage, which is fine. We're only gonna change the length of this by about a millimeter or so. So this next setup is going to be pretty quick and easy. I mean, none of this has to change. This is all fine. Basically, I just have to get my wheel out of the way because we're going to be turning this sideways, and we're going to be having a dish wheel in there to do the cutting. And I'm going to rotate my table from whatever angle it's on now to 45 degrees, which is what this lead-in angle on the tool is. And as far as the center height and everything else, we're ready to go. The only part of this we are going to have to change is we can't use the height of the wheel to give us a clearance anymore with this next setup. What we're going to have to do is rotate the tooth face upwards, and then the wheel will be on a flat plane this way, and with the tooth face above zero, more material will be removed from behind the leading edge than actually at the leading edge, and that's what's going to give us our clearance. That might have been not explained well or hard to understand, but what I'm going to do, I'm going to show you with the dial what I'm talking about by changing the tooth face from center height to above center height to give us that clearance that we're looking for. I'm going to show you here with the dial what I mean about this. So with this tooth face at center height and this running vertically, I would just create a straight line, and doing that on something that's round would basically mean that the back of the clearance area would be higher than the front of the clearance angle. So it wouldn't be a clearance angle at all, and it simply wouldn't work. And I'm going to demonstrate this with my dial. So if I move my dial, plus is clockwise, okay? Now you're gonna have to go on the other side because I need to work that handle over there.
All right.
So here I'm gonna come up with my stylus towards the cutting edge, and you're gonna see it's going plus. Well, we need that to run 0 in order to have matched the clearance angle that's on there. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to rotate this around here with my pointer. And then I'm going to go back. Okay, there's where I'm hitting. I'm still going minus quite a bit, so I need to come around a bunch more. Still going plus as I come up, so I need to go more. We need that running 0 so that we've perfectly recreated this angle. We're getting closer, you can tell it's moving more slowly. So here we're dropping down onto our leading edge. We're going down, down, down. Now it fell off the back, so we're exactly dialed in to the same clearance angle that was originally on there. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my tool and my wheel together. I'm going to have to set a stop because at some point it'd be real easy to smoke into my tailstock, which I don't want to do. I also have to be super careful that I'm only touching the tooth I want to be touching and not doing damage to the tooth in front or behind of that. So there's a bit of setup here that's pretty critical that we get it right. So I'm right in there now. Now I want to be able to come all the way off that tooth without hitting the tailstock, and that's going to be one stop. And one stop is all I need for this, because this way I'm free and clear. So there was just happened to be a stop here. I'm going to loosen that off. I'm all ready to go here. I am going to spin the wheel in reverse again, and that is going to push a little bit of burr up over the cutting edge. But again, the alternative is that the force of the grinding action takes this away from my fingers and digs it deeper into the wheel and destroys the whole thing, and taking the burr off is easy. One of the beautiful things about working between centers is I can just pop this out anytime I want, take a real good close look at it, see if I'm happy, and if I want to, I could just pop that back in, give it some more infeed, and carry on. But I am happy with this. The vast majority of the damage has been removed along this cutting edge, and the vast majority of the damage has been removed along this cutting edge. And so we have a perfectly good resharpened tool there. I'm going to go back in my toolbox. I am going to give it a quick, just dust it with my 2,000 diameter stainless wire wheel, and that'll just knock any little hint of a burr off without dulling it at all. So I'm going to do that, and then we're done. So we're sharpened up, we're all deburred. It's looking a heck of a lot better than it did before, I think. And we're nice and sharp. I can show you here. It just flays that plastic off like nobody's business. And so that's going to do it for this video, guys. Thanks a bunch for watching. Hope you enjoyed. And we'll see you in the next one.
Please like, share, and subscribe.
Yeah.